Imagine convincing a top executive at a major bank to invest millions in a completely fictitious project. That's exactly what Emmanuel Nwude, the mastermind behind one of the most audacious financial scams in history, managed to do. In the early 1990s, amidst Nigeria's economic boom, Nwude orchestrated an elaborate scam, selling a fake airport project and swindling $242 million. This is the incredible tale of his rise and fall. The mastermind behind this elaborate scam was Emmanuel Nwude. Though details about Emmanuel's early life are murky, it is believed he was born between 1950 and 1955 in Lagos, Nigeria. From a young age, Emmanuel aspired to immense wealth. His intelligence and ambition led him to the world of finance, which he saw as his path to prosperity. As a young adult, he entered banking, quickly gaining a reputation for his sharp intellect and financial acumen. Through hard work, perseverance, and charisma, Emmanuel climbed the corporate ladder, eventually becoming the director of the Union Bank of Nigeria. Despite his success, Emmanuel's hunger for power and influence remained insatiable. He devised a plan that would secure his name in the annals of financial history. In the early 1990s, Nigeria was undergoing significant changes, having recently declared Abuja as its new capital. This decision spurred a frenzy of economic development, with the government's top priority being large-scale infrastructure projects, particularly a world-class international airport. Emmanuel saw this as his golden opportunity. He planned to sell a fake airport and defraud investors. Knowing he couldn't execute the scam alone, he assembled a team of 5 experts in finance and banking. Their deep knowledge and connections in the financial sector would be crucial for the scheme. The plan involved each team member impersonating high-ranking officials. Once everyone understood their roles and the details of the plan, they were ready to execute the scam. The team began by sending meticulously crafted faxes to banks worldwide, using a fabricated identity of the Nigerian Ministry of Aviation. The letter announced plans for an airport in Abuja, a city experiencing rapid growth since becoming the new capital in 1991. After sending the faxes, the team waited patiently. Initially, it seemed like no one was interested. Then, unexpectedly, they received a response from Nelson Sakaguchi of Banco Noroeste, a major Brazilian bank. Nelson expressed keen interest in the proposal, stating that his bank had been seeking new investment opportunities. Emmanuel, seeing the plan unfold, contacted Nelson, impersonating Paul Ogwuma, the Central Bank of Nigeria's governor. Thus began one of the most audacious financial scams in history. Emmanuel and his team meticulously maintained their fabricated identities, convincing Nelson and others of their legitimacy. They presented elaborate documents and made compelling arguments to support their fictional airport project. Nelson, believing he had found a lucrative investment opportunity, proceeded with the deal, unaware that he was falling victim to one of the greatest scams ever orchestrated. Before the rise of the internet, verifying someone's identity was challenging, making it the perfect opportunity for Emmanuel Nwude. Using his charm and charisma, Emmanuel convinced Nelson Sakaguchi, a Brazilian bank executive, that the proposed airport project was legitimate. To maintain the illusion, Emmanuel insisted on confidentiality and suggested they meet outside of Nigeria and Brazil. Nelson proposed London, and Emmanuel agreed, setting the stage for meticulous planning. But before we go further with the story, please take a moment to like this video if you want to know all the shady details of the sale of the fake airport with a worth of $242 million. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to never miss a video. Now let's go on with the story. The team, each assuming the identity of a high-ranking official, prepared thoroughly for the meeting. Emmanuel posed as the governor, while others impersonated the deputy governor and the director of aviation. They crafted detailed airport plans, a business proposal, and fake documents to support their claims. Confident in their preparations, the team flew to London. Upon arrival, they enhanced their credibility by sending a limousine to pick up Nelson and accommodating him in a luxurious 5-star hotel suite, courtesy of the governor of the central bank. During the meeting, each team member exudes charm, confidence, and charisma, convincing Nelson of their legitimacy. Emmanuel reiterated the need for confidentiality, stating that construction wouldn't begin for another 4 to 5 years. Nelson assured them that his bank would be ready to transfer funds when the project started. However, Emmanuel insisted that they needed the funds immediately to begin planning, hiring companies, and gathering materials. Nelson, initially hesitant, expressed doubts, but Emmanuel, a smooth talker, reassured him. He hinted that other investors were lined up, making Nelson feel he might miss out on a significant opportunity. When Nelson mentioned that his bank's management might not approve, Emmanuel offered a $10 million commission if Nelson could resolve the issue himself. This incentive convinced Nelson to agree to the deal. They shook hands on a $242 million investment for the new airport, equivalent to around $413 million today. Before concluding their meeting, Emmanuel persuaded Nelson to transfer a $3 million deposit as proof of his commitment. Over the next 3 years, from 1995 to 1998, Nelson transferred $242 million to Emmanuel and his accomplices. To cover their tracks, they spread the transfers across 17 banks in different countries, avoiding detection by bank management. The team, composed of highly intelligent individuals, wisely invested the money into real estate in Nigeria and various regions worldwide. They also bought shares in multiple companies, sending fake documents and contracts to Nelson to maintain the ruse. The heist of the century seemed successful, with the team evading suspicion. However, their empire of deception was about to crumble. In 1998, Jaime Quiroz Lopez, a director at Banco Noroeste, grew increasingly frustrated as his bank was being acquired by the largest bank in Spain for $500 million. He played a crucial role in the deal, but couldn't account for a third of the bank's capital, which had seemingly vanished. All signs pointed to Nelson Sakaguchi. As the investigation into the missing funds intensified, the trail led directly to Nelson and, by extension, to Emmanuel Nwude and his accomplices. The fraudulent scheme that had appeared foolproof began to unravel, setting off a chain of events that would expose one of the most audacious financial scams in history. Emmanuel and his team, who had once seemed untouchable, were now in the crosshairs of international investigators, marking the beginning of the end for their criminal enterprise. Nelson Sakaguchi, a high-ranking executive at one of Brazil's largest banks, found himself in hot water when the board of directors summoned him to explain the whereabouts of a missing $242 million. Initially stalling, Nelson was confronted by Jaime Quiroz Lopez, a frustrated director, who demanded the last 3 years of documentation for their international operations. Under pressure, Nelson confessed, admitting he had hidden the enormous investment deal behind their backs, citing his lifelong penchant for gambling. The board's fury marked the beginning of an international investigation into what would become the third largest banking fraud in history. The investigation traced the funds back to Nigeria, but Nigerian banks were initially uncooperative, having been secretly bribed by Emmanuel Nwude and his accomplices. However, under pressure from Western banks, Nigerian banks eventually disclosed the identities of the account holders, exposing Emmanuel and his group. Despite the exposure, Nigeria's lack of financial fraud laws at the time allowed the team to remain free. Meanwhile, Nelson was arrested, charged with money laundering and sentenced to several years in prison. The Brazilian bank's owners, desperate to recover their lost funds, faced a significant challenge since most of the money was tied up in real estate and investments. Recovery seemed impossible. In a twist of fate, a new Nigerian president took office and established a financial crimes commission in 2003, which aggressively pursued Emmanuel and his team. By 2004, 5 members were arrested, though the 6th mysteriously died in a car crash during the investigation, sparking speculation of foul play orchestrated by Emmanuel to silence a potential informant. The trial faced numerous obstacles, with Emmanuel attempting to bribe officials and jury members. The situation escalated to the point where the trial had to be moved to another city due to the pervasive corruption. Emmanuel's relentless bribery attempts continued, but this time they failed. In a desperate bid to escape, he orchestrated a fake bomb threat in the courtroom, causing an evacuation and delaying the trial. However, his plan failed, and he was forced to negotiate. Facing overwhelming evidence, particularly testimony from Nelson detailing the scheme, Emmanuel agreed to return $120 million and pay a $10 million fine to the Nigerian government. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison but managed to bribe his way out after serving less than 2 years. Remarkably, he recovered nearly $50 million from his real estate properties, securing a comfortable life post-incarceration. Emmanuel lay low for a while, enjoying his ill-gotten gains, but trouble found him again in 2016. He was charged with murder after a land dispute with a neighboring town escalated. Emmanuel allegedly sent over 200 people to attack the town of Ukpo, resulting in the shooting of police officers and the murder of a security guard. As of now, he remains in custody awaiting trial. But given his history, it seems only a matter of time before he attempts another escape. This was the insane story of the fake airport sale of $242 million. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Also take a look at our channel because there will be more videos that you will find interesting.